Good morning. As I said, your project this time to find net operating profit after tax and free cash flows for the past 3 years and the next 2 years. I want you to do that by tonight. Put it on eClass, the storage place, and I'll grade it. The next next project due date is, I think, 1 week from today or a little further away. This time you will have to do some job that gets your hands very dirty. You have to collect data and run regression analysis to find beta coefficient of your company. That's going to be a challenge, but that's fun to do. So we'll do that, okay? Be prepared. So I want you to go ahead of me, read lecture note number 16, 17, and 18 before we get to that, okay? All right. During the past 2 weeks, we've been discussing capital budgeting, capital investment decision, evaluation of capital investment project. In the first couple of classes during the past 2 weeks, we were talking about various methods of evaluating capital investment projects. Net present value rule, the IRR rule, profitability index rule, payback rule, and so on. By now you are getting tired of it, so we are done with it, and we move to the next topic, that is to be able to find cash flows, cash flow estimation, estimation of future cash flows. And the project you did is, in a sense, one way to have good understanding of cash flow estimation. We are going to do cash flow estimation today, following last one. Briefly to review it, here's the first page that I would like you to pay attention to. The most important part of this slide is incremental cash flow principle. Okay? When you measure cash flows of a project, you have to measure project's cash flow, not the firm's cash flow. Cash flow that is due to the acceptance of the project. Okay? I want you to be very clear about it. Cash flow that occurs or cash flows that cease to occur because of the project will have to be included in the consideration of the project. The principle is called the incremental approach or standalone principle. And that is the key to the project evaluation or project analysis. The cash flows that should be included in the capital budgeting analysis are those that will occur or that will not occur or cease to occur if the project is accepted. This if statement is very critical. If the project is accepted, project acceptance is the key condition for whether or not to include project cash in project evaluation. Okay, the critical question is, you should always ask yourself, will this cash flow occur only if we accept the project? And if the answer is yes, it should be included in the analysis because it's incremental. And sometimes there are cash flows that could occur without the project, but would not occur if the project is accepted. These cash flows will need to be included, but with opposite signs. And we'll discuss this very briefly during our lecture today. Here are some common types of cash flows that some of them ought to be included and some of them ought not to be included in the project analysis. The first one is about the sunk cost. We talked about it. What was the rule for the sunk cost? We forget sunk cost. Forget sunk cost. Sunk cost is already the cash flow that has already occurred. So project acceptance has no impact on the sunk cost. Sunk cost is like spilt milk. You cannot get that back. You cannot get recover it to the original condition. So sunk cost is forever sunk. So forget sunk cost. Now the second concept that I would like you to think about is something called opportunity cost. I think the best way to handle it is to give you an example of it. And here's a very classic example of opportunity cost. There's a company, I forgot the name. It used to be called General Foods. Okay, and this company makes food products, processed foods, like otugi, like many other food companies that you are analyzing for this semester. And one of the products of this company is what is called Jello. Are you familiar with this brand? Jello. It's a dessert dish. It's soft, and as a dessert, you eat this Jello. If you go to a grocery store, you can find Jello. The package is usually has a very clearly spelled name, Jello. I have about 5 dishes that I can comfortably cook. My wife has spoiled me so much that I can cook only 5 dishes. They are Jello, ramen, coffee, and bokkeumbap, and finally washing dishes. These are the 5 dishes that I can do very comfortably. And this Jello is really easy. You buy a package of Jello. It's powder. Okay, you open it and boil water, and after the water is fully boiled, you pour that powder and you stir it, and then let it stand still for a couple hours so that it can cool down. Once it is completely cool, put it in the refrigerator, and you have Jello dish ready to eat. So simple. That's why I can cook it. Okay. Jello is a very competitive dessert product in the U.S. Food market. Jello has a good market share in the U.S. Dessert market. Let's suppose that this is market share of this is the market for desserts, okay? Dessert market. And let's suppose that Jello takes up, oops, too big. Let's say that this is Jello. Jello market share is substantial. And this much is produced and supplied by competitors of this company, okay? To make Jello, there is a machine called agglomerator. I think this is a machine to mix things and dry and make powder. Okay, this is a critical machine. And agglomerator, current capacity of the machine is so big that this Jello division, producing Jello lines, uses only, let's say, this is not exact numbers, but let's say that it is using up only 30% of the capacity. So 70% of the capacity is idle. It is not used. 70% is idle and unused. Jello new product development people thought about this and say, well, 70% of this agglomerator machine is currently free. It is free. Why don't we introduce another project, another product line, let's say chocolate flavor dessert, using the same machine, but chocolate flavor. And this project name is, the name of that is Super Project. And this is one of the classic Harvard Business School case. Super Project. And Super Project is to introduce this new line into the dessert market, right? Using the extra capacity of the agglomerator. Okay? Now, agglomerator space, 30% is used and 70% are idle. So it appears that by introducing this new product, there is no additional cost involved. So the NPV of this super project is sum t starting from 1 through t cash flows 1 plus r to the tth power minus initial investment. But there is no initial investment needed because you already have the extra space, extra capacity that is already there. So you don't need to spend any more money, right? So this is a classic case that you don't have to put any money and you can use the currently idle space. So there is no cash flow that is due to the acceptance of the project, right? So you subtract 0. Is it a right thing to do? Is it the right thing to do? Well, using this standalone principle or incremental approach, we should subtract 0 because there's no additional cash flow due to the acceptance of the project. Okay? So it seems right, it seems okay, but once you think of it, now if you introduce this new product, chocolate flavored dessert, you are going to use the remaining 70% of the capacity, so that remaining 70% currently idle capacity cannot be used in the future. In the future, if Jello wants to expand its product lines, it cannot use the idle capacity. The idle capacity, the use of it is limited. Flexibility is limited. Therefore, it is not really free. This excess capacity, idle capacity, it is not really free. It is costly. Therefore, you subtract market value of idle capacity. This idle capacity has market value. You subtract that idle value. Okay? How to do it? It can be done by those people who are good at techniques. Okay? But the concept is you have to subtract the market value of that extra capacity. Extra capacity is not really free. It can be used for other options, companies' other options. It can be used, but by introducing this new project, that flexibility is gone. That option is gone. So lost option, the cost of lost option should be included in this form. Okay? So do not forget the opportunity cost. That's the guideline. Do not forget the opportunity cost. Okay? The next, side effects. Now, this is the Jello market. And competitors are providing the rest of this market. This is the market, dessert market. If chocolate flavored dessert is introduced to the market, then there will be new people who will be attracted to this market. For example, myself, I am really crazy about chocolate. Okay, so I would love to buy chocolate flavored dessert. And there are some people here, you may be as crazy as I am about chocolate products. So there will be increased demand. So demand will increase. This much of demand is created by the chocolate pudding. Okay? But at the same time, this is a critical one. At the same time, this new product is going to undermine, is going to reduce the existing market of Jell-O. It penetrates into the market share of Jell-O. New product is so good that it is going to take the demand of Jell-O. So Jell-O demand will fall and chocolate pudding will rise. So there will be loss of this much to the revenue of Jell-O. From Jell-O division's point of view, there will be loss due to the acceptance of the project. If you accept this project, there will be reduced revenue, therefore reduced contribution margin, reduced profit margin of the company's of the Jell-O division. The idea is, should we include it? Should we include this lost profit margin due to the market share loss? So NPV, again, super project is summation t starting from 1 through t, cash flow t, minus 1 plus r to the tth power, minus isobo, minus present value of lost profit of Jell-O. Should we subtract it or should we not? And this part is clearly, the profit loss is clearly due to the acceptance of the project. If the project is accepted, then profit margin will decrease. So it should be included, and your book is very, very specifically states that you should include this as part of the cost. That's what's called negative side effects. There is negative side effects. Introducing this new product is going to reduce the revenue of other products that the company have. And this is also known as cannibalization. Known as cannibalization. Should we subtract the profit loss due to the acceptance of the project, or should we not? This is a very critical question. Why I am involved with this discussion is that it can go either way. It can go either way. General Foods, when it was considering this super project, it ignored the lost profits. It completely ignored it. And the argument was as follows. Yes, the company is going to lose this much market share and this much profit because of the introduction of the new product. But at the same time, think about this. If the company does not introduce this new product, if the company does not introduce new product, will Jello maintain the same market share? What if competitors in the market, what if other companies, they come in and they make a product that is similar to chocolate flavored dessert? Then this market share is going to be lost anyway, regardless of the acceptance of the project. This much loss is going to occur anyway. If that's the case, it is not due to the acceptance of the project. It was going to happen anyway. So they decided to ignore this, and they accepted the project, and this became a great success for the company. There is another company that failed in this principle. IBM. IBM once the 1980, in the 70s, IBM was considered the most important company in the world. Okay? Everybody wanted to be hired by IBM. IBM was a computer maker.
Around 1980, a man named Steve Jobs came and he invented a personal computer, what's called PC. Okay. By now, PC is old-fashioned. We have this mobile technology. But 1980, it was PC was a revolution in the computer market. And when PC was first introduced, before Steve Jobs came up with Apple computer, IBM researchers have come up with a prototype personal computer and brought it to the board. And board rejected the idea of introducing PC. IBM did not introduce PC. The argument was, if you introduce PC, it's going to take away the market share of the mainframe market. IBM was dominant player in the mainframe market, and it was going to lose the market share to PCs. So IBM board said it's not smart to introduce this new product by ourselves. We do not have to undermine our own market share, and they rejected this plan. And when they rejected it, other companies, they came up with PCs. Apple Computer did, and some other makers did introduce PCs, and PCs became the name of the game in the computer market. And IBM suddenly realized 2 years later, but those 2 years of delay was like 2 light years of delay. It's a tremendous delay. In the 70s, IBM was the company, but from the 80s, IBM became one of those companies. It's an ordinary company. It was a special company, but it became ordinary. And IBM did not recover from that. And later in the 80s and early 90s, a man named by the name of Lou Gerstner, he came to become CEO of IBM, and he finally changed the whole IBM business model from computer maker to solution provider. IBM is a solution provider. IBM is known as a company with a slogan of we sell solutions, not we sell computers. We sell solutions. IBM is providing solutions using IBM products as well as other people's products. IBM failed to ignore this lost profits. Okay? So I do not have any clear idea. I'm not advocating for any position. You have to look carefully whether it has negative side effects. If you have negative side effects, yes, you should include it. But if the negative side effect was going to happen anyway, then ignore it. Okay? The idea goes that way. Okay, any questions?
Side effects are very important. Don't forget side effects. Okay? Don't forget side effects. Okay, changes in net working capital, financing costs, and taxes. We'll discuss it using an example later. Now, we are done with the cash flow, some common cases in cash flows. Now we go to pro forma or projected statements and cash flows. How to actually compute the cash flows. Capital budgeting relies very heavily on pro forma accounting statements, particularly income statement. And the following expression in red, I want you to memorize it. For this expression, even if you ask me during exam, I'm not going to answer you. Okay, this one is for sure. You have to memorize it. You have to have that within you. Okay, the cash flows of project analysis is defined to be operating cash flow of the project. Operating cash flow of the project, which is computed by earnings before interest and tax, subtracting taxes, and adding back depreciation. Okay? Subtract tax, add depreciation. I want you to remember, subtract tax, add depreciation to EBIT. Okay? EBIT and subtract tax. Notice that I don't subtract interest payment. This is like all equity firms' cash flows. Okay? Subtract tax and add depreciation. This is like NOPAT. This is NOPAT. Okay? So total cash flow is negative minus net capital spending. That's the capital outlay, capital cash outflows, plus operating cash flow, this, minus changes in net working capital. We'll discuss this using an example. Here's an example. Okay, I want you to walk with me line by line and page by page. Suppose here's a company. Sales are $200,000. The company sells 50,000 units per year, and each unit is currently selling for $4. So 200,000 is net sales. Subtract cost of goods sold. Each unit, it costs $2.50. So variable cost of 125. That will yield gross profit of 75,000. Okay, I want you to walk line by line with me. Fixed cost, that's cost. Okay, fixed cost. Subtract 12,000 and subtract depreciation. Here's a machine that cost the company $900,000, and this machine is going to last for 3 years. Okay, so $90,000 for 3 years. So each year the company depreciates 1/3 of that amount. So 30,000 depreciation is subtracted from gross profit to yield EBIT. Okay? EBIT of 33,000. And subtract tax, 34% of that, and you have net income. That's net operating profit after tax. This is NOPAT. Okay? Net operating profit after tax of 21,780. Okay. Now, projected capital requirements. Okay. The company is to buy machine which costs 90,000, and the company needs to have $20,000 of net working capital. When you introduce new product into the company's already existing product lines, the company will need to have more inventory, more accounts receivable, and more cash. And these are called net working capital. So net working capital of $20,000 is needed at the beginning of the project life. So $20,000 of net working capital in year 0, and $90,000 of fixed assets at time 0. Now 1 year has passed. 1 year has passed. 1 year later, you still need net working capital of $20,000. So $20,000 will remain there. How about net fixed assets? $30,000 of depreciation has occurred, so the actual value that stays within the firm is only $60,000 because of the depreciation of $30,000 in year 1. Year 2, you still need net working capital of $20,000, and net fixed assets will fall by $30,000 to $30,000. Therefore, total investment within the firm, total capital within the firm will be $50,000. It started with $110,000, but it falls to $50,000. And year 3, when project is all over, you don't need net working capital anymore. So net working capital will be recovered. It will be collected. It's not going to be used anymore. So investment is reduced, and the money will be recovered into the firm. And the fixed assets will be fully depreciated away, so it will become 0. So total investments within the firm remaining within the firm is 0 at time 0. So from year 0, $110,000 are invested, and at time 3, that investment is all gone over a 3-year period. Okay, are you with me? I want you to think about the picture. If that's the case, we can have projected total cash flows. Year 0. Capital spending of $90,000. Year 0, capital spending of $90,000. No operating cash flows. Changes in net working capital. You have to have additional inventory, additional accounts receivable, and so on. So $20,000 will be added. So total capital outlay, including the working capital, net working capital, is $110,000. Year 1. $51,780, that operating cash flow will come in. So year 1 cash flow is $51,780. Year 2, same thing. Now year 3 is a different matter. Year 3, operating cash flow will still $51,780, and there will not be any more cash flows after that. So this is the end of the project time. This is the horizon, end of it. And at the end, there will not be net working capital needed anymore. Net working capital is not needed because project is over. So it will be recovered. So you get back net working capital. And that gives you $71,000. And discount this, discount that, and subtract initial investment. That gives you a net present value. Okay? This is as simple as this. Okay? I have given you the very essential details or essential elements of project cash flow estimation. And making the decision is simple. Now, more on net working capital. As I said, when you introduce a project, that new project entails additional requirement for accounts receivable, cash, and inventory, and they will have to be included. Depreciation is the hardest part. The depreciation expense used for capital budgeting should be the depreciation schedule required by the IRS for tax purposes. In the US, tax authority is called Internal Revenue Service. Internal revenue. Within the US, internally collected revenue, tax collection is called, from the government point of view, it's revenue. So Internal Revenue Service is the US tax authority. What's Korean tax authority's English name? Korean tax authority in Korean name? Come on. Huh? Some people say 세무서. Korean authority's name, Korean name for Korean tax authority is 국세청. 국세청. And English name for that is National Tax Service. It's called service. Tax collection is also service. It is considered service. National Tax Services. Same thing, Korean depreciation schedule is following the guideline of the National Tax Service. U.S. Internal Revenue Service. There is a requirement for that. Depreciation itself is non-cash expense. Consequently, it is only relevant because it affects taxes. Okay, depreciation tax shield is depreciation times tax rate. I will explain this using an example. Essentially, there are two types of depreciation methods. One is straight line depreciation. Straight line depreciation is every year you depreciate equal amount. Okay? So initial cost divided by number of years, that's the amount of depreciation for each year. If it is 10-year lifetime, then divide the initial cost by 10, and that will give you depreciation. We do not deduct salvage value to get the depreciation. I'll explain that using an example again. MACRS is depreciation being done more in the beginning and less toward the end. It's accelerated depreciation. The reason why people use accelerated depreciation is to collect cash in the early years of the project. Okay? Because of tax shield, depreciation tax shield, because we add back depreciation in the operating cash flow computation, the earlier you have a large amount of depreciation, that will give you more cash flows in the earlier time period. So using MACRS, that's a schedule provided by the Internal Revenue Service. You use the table of MACRS depreciation schedule and you apply it. That is included in your class note, so I want you to take a look at it. After tax salvage value, we'll discuss it using an example. Here's an example. Suppose that you are purchasing an equipment. The cost of equipment is $90,000, but in order to have it ready for operation, you need to get it installed. And before installing, you have to get it delivered to you, and delivery and installation costs of $10,000. So initial cost is $100,000. Equipment life is 5 years, and it will be depreciated by straight line. So during 5-year period, we are going to find depreciation so that we can actually find operating cash flow, which is EBIT minus taxes plus depreciation. Let me rewrite this in the following way. EBIT
depreciation and amortization, EBITDA. DA means depreciation and amortization. Depreciation for tangible physical assets, and amortization is for non-tangible assets, like patent. EBITDA minus depreciation, and that is EBIT, right? EBITDA is before depreciation. This is before interest, taxes, and depreciation and amortization. Subtracting depreciation and amortization will give you EBIT, right? And 1 minus tax rate will give you EBIT minus taxes, right? And you add depreciation. And if you write this out, depreciation out, you have the following: EBITDA. This is the cash profit. This is cash profit before tax, before interest. Cash profit before interest and tax. Minus 1 minus tax rate. Plus tax rate times depreciation. And this is so critical. This is what we call depreciation tax shield, which you saw in the previous page. The more depreciation you have, the larger the cash flows because of depreciation tax shield. The more depreciation you have, the larger the depreciation tax shield. Therefore, you have more cash flows. Now, here, $100,000 of initial investment will be depreciated over 5 years. Each year, 1/5 of it, minus 20,000. Minus 20,000. Minus 20,000. Minus 20,000. And minus 20,000. So net fixed assets will be, at time 1, it will be 80,000, 60,000, and 40,000, and 20,000. And year 5, net fixed asset is 0. This is book value. In the book of the company's finance, in the company's finance book, the value of this asset is 0 because all the investments have been depreciated away, so its book value is 0. But the company can sell the equipment for $17,000. It can actually sell this 0 valued asset at $17,000. This is called salvage value. This can be salvaged for $17,000. So depreciation tax shield for each year will be $20,000 times 40% tax rate, so $8,000 of cash flows occurring throughout 5 years. And year 5, you have another cash flow that is after-tax salvage. That's $17,000 are collected by selling the equipment. But that's not all your money because there is capital gains. There's a profit. You are selling the asset that has 0 value in the book
but selling at 17,000, so 17,000 is your profit. So you have to pay tax on it. Whenever there is profit, the tax authority is there to get it. Okay? So tax of 17,000 minus 0, that's the salvage value, that's the book value, times 40% tax rate. This is the amount of tax to be paid, and that is subtracted from your salvage value of 17,000. That gives you after-tax salvage value. Okay? Okay, that's about everything that I would like to cover for today's class. I'm not done. What I'm going to do on Monday is walk with you the following problem called replacement problem. Here is an original machine that has initial cost of 100,000 and annual depreciation of 9,000. Purchased 5 years ago. Book value is 55,000. Salvage value today is 65,000. Salvage in 5 years is 10,000. Now here's a new machine that has 5-year life. Initial cost is 150,000. Straight line depreciation. Salvage in 5 years. Cost savings of $50,000 a year. New machine comes in, and that has much better efficiency. Therefore, cost will be saved by 50,000. Like you have an equipment which is sort of old and obsolete. It's costly to operate. You buy a new machine to replace it to save operating cost. This one is fairly well explained in your textbook. So here is your homework. Okay? Between now and Monday, there is no finance homework, no project. So use the spare time that is to occur because of not having a project. I want you to take a look at this problem description in your book, your chapter I think 10. Read from here 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, up to here. Okay? I want you to read and try to go through the entire example. It may be good for you to read your book instead of following this note. Essentially, I'm asking you to preview the materials because this replacement cost problem is going to be reproduced in your exam. That is included in your final exam. So try it. So I am giving you the second the problem of the final exam. Before the final exam, you will know all 4 problems. Okay? Yeah. You have no excuse of not getting good marks on the final. Okay? I want you to do that. Read that very carefully. So on Monday, if you don't read it and come on Monday, you will not be able to follow. You will not be able to understand. Don't rely on my lecture. My lecture on this topic will be only 10 minutes. I spent only 10 minutes to review this problem, example, and then I'll move on to finish up the discussion of capital budgeting on Monday. And toward the end of Monday, I'm going to go into a new topic, risk, return, and diversification, which requires much more thought and practice. So I want you to be prepared. Okay? 이제부터 한국말로 되게 이해가 되지요? 오늘 커버한 매테리얼이 사실은 좀 드라이해요. 이해하기가 그렇게 쉽지 않은 이슈예요. 근데 오늘 배워준 거의 핵심은 바로 이 포뮬러입니다. 오퍼레이팅 캐시플로우를 어떻게 찾아내느냐, 그리고 계산하느냐. 오퍼레이팅 캐시플로우를 찾는 게 그거 못하면 캐피털 버제팅이 안 되거든요. 그러니까 오퍼레이팅 캐시플로우를 찾는 연습을 여러분이 많이 해봐야지만 비로소 재무 관리를 이해할 수가 있어요. 그래서 오퍼레이팅 캐시플로우를 찾는 법. 근데 오퍼레이팅 캐시플로우의 중요한 컴포넌트 중에 하나가 바로 이 디프리시에이션이에요. 그리고 넷워킹 캐피털이에요. 넷워킹 캐피털이 다시 들어가야 되고 빠져야 되고 그러는 거하고 이 디프리시에이션하고 애프터 텍스 살베이지 밸류를 어떻게 할 건가, 이런 부분이 상당히 까다롭거든요. 연습을 많이 해봐야 돼요. 그래서 그거를 해달라는 얘기고요. 그 다음에 요거 얘기하기 전에 얘기한 부분은 뭐냐 하면 그 캐시플로우를 우리가 추정하는 데 있어서 썬크 코스트는 이미 지나간 거니까, 매몰 원가라는 건 이미 지나간 거니까 프로젝트의 액셉턴스와는 전혀 관계가 없으니까 그거는 프로젝트 이밸류에이션에 감안할 필요가 없다는 거죠. 근데 오퍼튜니티 코스트는 프로젝트를 캐시플로우 이밸류에이션 하는데 오퍼튜니티 코스트는 반드시 감안을 해야 돼요. 내가 가지고 있는 스페이스 중에서 일부분을 현재는 안 쓰고 있는데 그 부분을 이용해서 새 프로젝트를 하면 돈이 안 드는 것 같지만 실제로는 돈이 들어요. 어떤 돈이 드느냐 하면 그 남아있는 액세스 카파시티를 이용해서 새 프로젝트를 하게 되면 그 스페이스는 더 이상 사용을 할 수가 없잖아요. 활용 못하는 플렉시빌리티의 제한을 받기 때문에 그 스페이스의 시장 가치를 감안해서 서브트랙트를 해줘야 된다는 거예요. 그 다음에 카니발리제이션의 경우에는 그거를 빼줘야 되느냐 빼주지 말아야 되느냐에 대해서 논란이 많아요. 나는 빼줄 필요가 없다고 주장을 하지만 또 그걸 감안해 줘야 된다고 주장하는 사람들의 주장도 일리는 있거든요. 그래서 경우에 따라서 상황을 봐서 이게 내 프로젝트가 없었어도 영향을 받을 수 있는 그런 그 profit loss면 상관없고 감안하지 말고, 내 프로젝트 아니었으면 유지할 수 있었던 그런 profit이라면 그거는 감안을 꼭 해줘야 된다는 거죠. 그래서 그 세 가지, sunk cost는 잊어버려라. opportunity cost는 반드시 감안해라. 세 번째는 경우에 따라서는 profit loss, 이 카니발리제이션으로 인한 profit loss는 감안할 필요가 있다. 대개는 없지만 필요가 있을 수도 있다. 그 정도로 알아두면 됩니다. 그게 오늘 한 내용을 우리말로 브리프 서머리를 한 거니까 여러분이 이해를 확실하게 하기 바랍니다. 그리고 이 내용에 대해서 확실하게 이해가 안 되면 이제 나중에 실사회에 나가가지고 여러분이 재무관리를 안다는 거에 재무관리를 아는 사람은 이 정도는 알아야 되는 기본이거든요. 그거는 여러분이 반드시 이해를 하고 넘어가기 바랍니다. Okay, that's all for today. I'll see you on Monday. And don't forget to do your homework. Homework is to read. 그 부분 읽는 거 잊어버리지 말고 꼭 읽고 준비해 가지고 오기 바랍니다. 그래야지 진도를 나갈 수가 있으니까요. Okay, thank you. 그래.